The night of the Aurora Gala shimmered with a kind of polished elegance only New York could create. Golden lights washed over the ballroom, a cinematic glow spreading across glass, silk, and sequins. The room quieted as the master of ceremonies stepped to the microphone, his voice echoing under the vaulted ceiling. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "please welcome the winner of the Aurora Design Competition, the creative mind behind collection number A17. Every spotlight converged toward the entrance. Heads turned. Conversations halted. A hush rippled through the ballroom like a held breath. And out of the doorway stepped someone no one expected. A young woman in a sleek, midnight blue dress, sharp lines, clean tailoring, unmistakably modern, walked toward the stage. Her name was Emma Clarke, but everyone in the building knew her as something else. The night janitor of the Aurora Media Tower. Near the front row, Ethan Ford, the CEO of Aurora Media, froze. His eyes widened, shock breaking across the face of a man who rarely showed emotion, because he had seen this woman before, countless times. He had passed her in corridors, spoken on the phone while she emptied his trash, walked past her as though she were a shadow on the wall. He had looked at her 100 times, and never truly seen her once. To understand how she arrived on that stage, beneath the brilliance of 100 chandeliers, the story had to rewind, back to a quieter night, months earlier, when Emma Clarke lived a life defined by silence. Emma worked the night shift at Aurora Media, a towering glass structure in Manhattan that glowed like a beacon long after most of the city slept. She arrived when the last executives left, when the glamour drained away and only the stark whiteness of fluorescent lights remained. Her world was the echo of empty hallways, the hum of machinery, the rhythmic sweep of a mop across marble floors. The cinematic glow of this life wasn't bright. It flickered softly, like a faint street lamp on a lonely block. Emma had learned to blend into these spaces with the precision of someone who had been overlooked far too often. At 26, she navigated the corporate building like a ghost, silent, efficient, unnoticed. People didn't speak to her. Their eyes passed through her as if she were a fixture of the late-night cleaning crew, not a person with dreams stitched into her fingertips. Ethan Ford was often the only one still working at that hour. He was the kind of executive who made decisions with crisp finality, his voice firm, his posture commanding. He moved through life with the confidence of someone who had always been listened to. Emma admired him from a distance, not the man himself, but the world he stood in, the world she could only observe through the glass walls of his office. The first time she spoke to him, months earlier, she had found a folder that had slipped behind his desk. She approached him quietly. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly. "I found this behind your chair." Ethan took the folder without lifting his eyes from his laptop. "No, thank you." No acknowledgement. His conversation continued uninterrupted. Emma had felt the sting of invisibility wash over her like cold water. She never tried speaking to him again. But invisibility was not the whole of Emma Clarke. Not even close. When her shift ended at 2 in the morning, Emma took a late train back to her Brooklyn apartment, a tiny studio tucked above a laundromat, its walls thin and its heater unreliable. But this was the place where her true life began. The moment she walked inside, she switched on a warm desk lamp, illuminating a world utterly different from the sterile corporate building she had just cleaned. Sketchbooks lay scattered across her small wooden table. Fabric swatches hung from thumbtacks on the walls. A professional-grade sewing machine, bought after 2 years of saving, sat like a treasured relic beside her bed. Emma brewed instant coffee and sat down, exhaustion fading as pencil touched paper. Here, she wasn't a janitor. She was a designer. She studied fashion obsessively. She dissected runway shows, learned pattern drafting from YouTube tutorials, spent her sparse savings on used textbooks on garment construction. Her designs favored clean silhouettes and thoughtful structure. She loved pieces that transformed subtly, business jackets with removable panels, dresses that shifted from office to evening without theatrics. Emma lived two lives. One paid the bills, the other fueled her soul, and the world had no idea the second one existed. Everything started to change one Sunday morning at Lighthouse Roastery, a small, art-filled cafe in Brooklyn, where creative people often worked on their passion projects. Emma sat by the window, sketchbook open, tracing the lines of a new idea. A shadow fell across her table. "May I?" a woman's voice asked. Emma looked up. The woman appeared to be in her mid-50s, elegant in a way that suggested experience rather than extravagance. Her silver-streaked hair, her black wool coat, the calm confidence in her posture. They were unmistakable signs of someone from the fashion world. "My name is Isabel Marlowe," she said, recognizing the surprise on Emma's face. Emma knew exactly who she was. Isabel Marlowe was a legend, former creative director of Marlowe & Co. A designer whose influence had helped shape American ready-to-wear fashion for 2 decades. Isabel carefully turned the pages of Emma's sketchbook. Her expression did not change much, but Emma sensed something happening, an unspoken evaluation, the kind every aspiring designer wished for but never dared dream would come. "These are extraordinary," Isabel murmured at last. "You design with intention, with empathy. You understand movement and structure?" Emma shook her head, flustered. I'm just a janitor at Aurora Media." Isabel leaned back, eyes softening. "My dear, you're a designer who happens to be a janitor. Those are not the same thing." Emma's breath hitched. "Come to my studio," Isabel said. "If you are serious, I'll mentor you, quietly, privately, until you're ready to step into the light." The world seemed to tilt, just slightly, as though something long dormant inside Emma had begun to stir. For the next 3 months, Emma lived in 2 realities. By night, she pushed a cleaning cart through Aurora Media's empty building. By late evening, and on her days off, she apprenticed under Isabel Marlowe in a hidden Brooklyn studio filled with bolts of fabric and dress forms pinned with half-finished designs. Her progress was cinematic in its intensity. Quick montages of scissors slicing through fabric, chalk lines on muslin, Emma removing stitches and sewing them again under Isabel's firm but patient guidance. "Fashion," Isabel told her one night, "is not about glamour. It's about truth. A person should feel more themselves in your clothes, not less." Emma absorbed everything, hungry for knowledge. And then, one night at Aurora, while emptying trash cans near the conference rooms, she overheard 2 junior employees talking excitedly. "Have you heard? Ethan is launching a design competition. Anonymous submissions only. The winner gets a full contract and leads the new Aurora fashion line." Emma froze. Anonymous. Her identity wouldn't matter. Only the work. It felt like a door she'd never believed would open. In the weeks that followed, Emma created a collection called Unseen, a tribute to workers like herself, those who moved through the world without recognition. She designed 10 pieces, neutral colors shifting into richer tones, practical fabrics with architectural silhouettes, garments that looked at home in a boardroom but moved with the grace of someone catching the subway home at midnight. Isabel was relentless in her mentorship. "Again," she would say, tearing out a seam. "Precision is the difference between a dreamer and a professional." Emma pushed herself harder than she had ever pushed before. When the deadline arrived, she packaged her sketches, concept notes, and photographs into a simple cardboard box, labeled only with her submission number, A17. The receptionist at Aurora accepted it with barely a glance. Emma walked away, her heart pounding as though she had just handed over her entire future. 6 weeks passed. One night, while cleaning the executive floor, Emma noticed noise coming from the glass-walled conference room. Curiosity pulled her closer. Inside, Ethan Ford stood at the head of the table, surrounded by industry experts Aurora had flown in for final judging. Her designs, her unseen collection, filled the giant display screen. "This is exactly the direction we need," an editor from a major fashion magazine said. "It feels authentic." Another added, "Modern, wearable, emotionally intelligent." Ethan nodded. "Whoever designed this understands the heart of our audience. This is the winner, without question." Emma staggered backward, gripping her cleaning cart for support. They were praising her work, her vision, her voice, and they didn't even know her name. The night of the Aurora Gala arrived. The ballroom gleamed with polished marble and cascading chandeliers. The cinematic grandeur felt almost unreal, a world so distant from Emma's usual existence that she felt like an intruder in her own life. Yet she entered with quiet confidence, wearing a dress from her winning collection. People turned to admire it, unaware the designer stood inside it. When the MC called for the winner of the competition, Emma stepped forward, every spotlight guiding her path. The audience watched in stunned silence as she reached the stage. Ethan's gaze locked onto hers, disbelief rendering him momentarily speechless. Emma stood at the microphone. "My name is Emma Clarke," she began. "Many of you know me as the night janitor of the Aurora Media Tower." A ripple went through the ballroom. "For years, I thought invisibility was my fate. But invisibility is not the absence of talent. It is only the absence of recognition." She paused, letting the truth settle. "This collection, unseen, is for everyone who has ever been overlooked. For the people who clean your offices, serve your meals, deliver your packages, people whose lives intersect with yours every day, even if you never learn their names." Her voice softened. "Talent doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't disappear just because people refuse to see it." The applause rose like a wave. Emma had stepped out of the shadows, and she would never return to them again. After the ceremony, Ethan found her behind the stage. For the first time since she had known him, he seemed uncertain. "Emma," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I worked beside you for months, and I never saw you for who you were." Emma studied him, seeing sincerity in the face of a man who had always been so sure of himself. "You saw what you were taught to see," she replied. "People like me fade into the background in places like Aurora." He nodded, humbled. "I want to change that," he said. "I want to offer you a partnership, creative lead of our new Aurora New Wave line, full control. And I want to create something bigger, a program that finds talent where most companies never look, a path for people like you." Emma considered this. "Only if we do it as equals," she said. "And only if we give real opportunities, not just publicity." "You have my word," Ethan replied. And this time, when they shook hands, Emma felt truly visible. 1 year later, Emma returned to the Aurora Media Tower. Not as a janitor, but as an honored guest. The lobby displayed her designs on towering digital screens. The company now hosted the first showcase of the Clarke Initiative, a mentorship program for overlooked creatives, custodians, waiters, warehouse workers, single parents, former service staff. She looked out at the audience, recognizing faces she had once passed in hallways without acknowledgement. "Your worth," Emma said into the microphone, "is not determined by who sees you. It is determined by who you choose to become." As she left the stage, the crowd applauded not only her talent, but her courage to rewrite her story. Emma walked through the lobby, the same space she had once swept at midnight. But now, her footsteps carried purpose, not apology. Outside, the city glowed with possibility. And Emma Clarke, once invisible, stepped into the night fully seen, fully known, and just getting started.